Hey everybody, in this video we're going to talk about a topic that's kind of often overlooked or pushed aside to the last minute, and that's what type of sand are you going to use when setting up your reef tank, or lack thereof. So let's get right into it. There are many ways to set up a reef tank. One of the most frequent questions we get is what type of sand should I use, or should I even use sand at all? For the purposes of this video, I'm going to cover the popular substrates that we use at Worldwide Corals in our display tanks and in the tanks in the farm. Some of the things we're going to cover are going bare bottom or no sand at all, using calcium reactor media types such as Reborn, Fiji Pink live sand, Reef live sand, and larger sand mix. The first option is kind of what Worldwide Corals was really known for, and that's going bare bottom or using no sand at all. And you saw a lot of examples of this in the display tanks at the original store. So as I mentioned before, this is just a process of using no sand at all. So it could be completely bare, just the glass or acrylic bottom of the tank, or you could put a layer of something above the bottom of the tank, such as starboard. There's a few reasons to go this route, such as flow and the ease of parameter manipulation of nitrate and phosphate. You could run a really high amount of flow without kicking up sand off the bottom of the tank because there's no sand on there at all. So this is perfect for an all aquapora tank that demands high flow, but it's also not limited to this, providing there's a robust aquascape with many flow zones. Also, if you're going with corals that demand really high flow and don't like the look of bare bottom, don't worry, this isn't your only option, so we'll go over some more later. Another advantage of going bare bottom is tank maintenance. It is a lot easier to take care of, and you only have to siphon off the detritus piles that accumulate on the bottom of the tank. It also looks really cool when the bottom of the tank is covered in coralline algae and or lined with a flat growing coral such as a garden of zoanthids. Next is an increasingly popular choice at Worldwide Corals, that is the calcium reactor media or Reborn. Using this type of media gives you extra surface area for denitrifying bacteria to call home, and it gives a unique look to the tank. Because of its larger size, there aren't any limits of flow in the tank as well. And the media is large enough for corals to attach to, mushrooms, zoanthids. The media moves so little that it's stable enough to allow stony coral growth, such as Monopora, Chalice, Lepto, and Salmon coral, for example. You can have clusters of these corals spreading on the bottom of the tank, and because the media is so large, you can move these corals later as they grow and attach themselves to it. For maintenance, all the waste and detritus falls to the bottom of the tank beneath the media. This makes cleaning with a gravel vacuum a lot easier than if you're cleaning with sand, because you'll be able to get all the dirt entirely, and you're also not going to suck up any sand in the process. Another popular option for setting up a reef tank are the live sand choices. The examples we have in the store by Caribsea are the Fiji Pink live sand, which is a smaller granule size, and then the next size up is the Reef live sand. As the name suggests, it gives you that nice sandy look as if you're diving in the reefs of Indonesia. It's definitely a totally different look than going bare bottom, plus it's going to give you the added benefit of adding bacteria to help cycle the tank. We have found that it's not a replacement for adding live bacteria to your reef tank, so don't skip on that part. Some saltwater creatures require this size media to live in, from sand-sifting gobies to certain types of starfish. For these types of sand, because of the small grain size, you are limited to the amount of flow that you have in your tank. Too much flow could really kick up the sand and add bare spots throughout the aquarium. We also found that using sand versus a bare bottom tank will dramatically increase the pace of maturity and stability of your reef. If you wanted to go with this type of sand, but you didn't want live sand, there are options to get it dry, but usually it will come in larger size packages. The last substrate option that I'm going to cover in this video is the larger mixed sand. For example, we use the larger sand mix in our 1,200 gallon lagoon in the front of the Worldwide Coral Superstore. We noticed that over time, the larger sand makes its way to the top and the smaller sand goes to the bottom. This is called stratification. Because of the larger grain sizes on top, we see less growth of nuisance algae and more growth of the desirable coralline algae. Our lagoon tank is a mixed reef and has higher flow in some areas, but we notice that the sand stays in place due to the larger sizes being on top. We use this methodology when applied in a larger aquarium. The idea is when a powerhead has to travel a long distance, you're usually going to crank it up and run it at a higher percentage. This will almost always move smaller substrate. So the larger mixed sand is a perfect balance for us for flow and having a nice sand look to the tank. So even though we use this larger sand mix in our big display tanks, it doesn't mean you can't use it in a smaller tank or even a nano if you like that look. Well, that's everything I have on the topic of sand. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit that like button and also subscribe so that you won't miss another video. We'll see you guys on the next one.